Hey everyone, Evan Kirstel with another great discussion. Today we have True North Advisory together with TechVision, a company we're going to chat a lot about. The CEO of TechVision is Chakra Devala. Chakra, how are you?
Very good. Thank you very much, Evan. Very nice to
And we have a special guest with us from True North Advisory, one of your business partners and collaborators. We have two for one today. So we've got Andy and Dino from True North. Gentlemen, how are you?
Doing great, thank you.
Yeah, doing great. Nice to be with you all.
So we're here live down in Dallas. Chakra, maybe introduce yourself to your background and who is TechVision exactly in the world of collaboration and communications.
Yeah, hi. Thank you very much. So I'm Chakra Devala, I'm CEO for TechVision, and TechVision is the industry leader in testing for collaboration and contact center space. So we lead in automation and how to scale testing. As you know, Evan, today the collaboration technologies have become very complex. So to scale testing is and do it manually cannot be done, right? I mean, that's where we are working with the leaders in the space like Microsoft, Cisco. Recently, we announced that Google announcement where Google is launching the sibling program. So, we're helping all these big partners in how to scale testing and deliver great quality for UC and CC space.
Yeah, and you've been at this mission for quite some time. Tell us about your journey over the last decade as we've seen the rise of communications collaboration services and the need for interoperability in the space.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, when we our journey started at the time when VoIP was just taking foot, and we realized very early that for VoIP to take effect and really for the adoption to go up, interoperability was a big bottleneck at that point, right? I mean, if you remember the early days of our VoIP journey, there used to be all these bake-offs, and of course, I'm sure Dino and Andy know those days very well, where we realized that as an independent lab to facilitate that interoperability testing, and so that way we can really bring the value of, instead of saying whose problem is it, so we can be the neutral party to really test end-to-end solution and say, is the interoperability working? And if it is not working, then where the problem is. So being that, so we maintain that that independence and neutrality. We're product agnostic. We always call ourselves as product agnostic, and making sure the technology works and the solution works end to end. So that's where we started. But as you know, in the last few years, the whole cloud adoption has taken off, right? So the cloud actually enables innovation, and one of the things that it promoted was rapid change. So change was consistent, constant. As you know, Microsoft Teams and Zoom, they took off in the last few years. And as they push more changes into the network, and real-time networks are very sensitive to change, and you have to test them. And we all remember when things were working in the UC space, you never touch it. But when you're pushing so many changes, it doesn't work. So what we're really working nowadays is how do we scale that interoperability? And one way to do it is you have to do it continuously, right? You cannot just test it and say it works and then move on, because in the cloud environment you're constantly updating, and that is where we believe that automation is the only means to scale continuous testing. And that's where we're focusing. That's been my journey for TechVision's journey in the last few years.
Fantastic. And what an exciting time to be on this journey, given all of the, CX and digital transformation initiatives happening around the world. Let me turn to True North. Andy, Dino, you've both seen the challenges and opportunities in our space for a couple decades, to say the least. Andy, what's your take on your partnership with TechVision and their amazing work with clients?
Well, TechVision's been a client of True North now for over 2.5 years. We're actually down here in Dallas today working with Chakra and his executive team on strategy, channels, go-to-market, strategic partners. They have one of the best hidden secrets, I think, in tech, because the value they provide to a customer, the ROI in terms of the ability to a faster time to revenue generation is really best in class and best in market. So working through really where they are today and then taking them to the next level has been something that we've been preparing for. And Dino and I like to be on site physically with the team working through this. We've been here for a couple of days now, and I think we've got some real exciting plans to announce shortly. And I think the messaging and kind of coming out for TechVision in this space is going to be one that will definitely be noticed.
Yeah, it's really about elevating our message, right? It's not only about testing, it's really about being able to accelerate, as Andy mentioned, time to market. We all know that a lot of these service providers, large infrastructure players, it's, how quickly can they get out these new services in a tested fashion, make sure it's secure, make sure it's working. And we believe that, TechVision is well poised to do that. And additionally, we were here for 2 days getting, frankly, our hands dirty, really working through account strategies, trying to figure out the top SIs, top SPs, who are the top partners that we could go after from an ecosystem perspective? What does that mean from a marketing angle as well? So it's been a real fun, productive few days here with Chakra and his management team.
Yeah, that's exciting. Wish I could be there. And Dino, at our time at Acme Packet, interoperability and interworking was such an important value add to what we did at that time. And here we are, a decade later, and it's even more important then. So Chakra, let me ask you, what kind of clients do you work with exactly? And how do you help exactly, whether they're a service provider or a vendor or an app developer? Like, what's the process?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we work with three segments. We call them three pillars. The first one is what today are the platform providers like the Microsoft Teams, Zoom, AWS, Google. You just named them, right? I mean, all of that's a huge segment in itself. The second segment is what we call as the technology providers. These are the enablers of the peripherals or the services around those platforms, which are the independent software vendors or devices, headsets. You just named them. So there's several of them, right? And the third segment, the third pillar we have is the service providers, right? Because at the end of the day, that's the service how it's delivered to the end customer. So all three of them will work, and each of them, the value that we create is one of the big changes. Like I said earlier, Evan, is there is so much complexity that is getting evolving as you just name it, whether it's hybrid, and several of them are moving into software-based delivery. We no longer see box-based networks, right? Everything is moving into VMs and the whole network and the service, the UC or CC, and especially in the CC space with all the AI and so many changes that are happening. But one of the problem there is you have to be able to scale your testing and improve the quality. So how we're helping is we come into the customer, we understand their need of how to scale that testing. So, and we have an automation platform that we built where this automation platform delivers bots. So these bots reside at the client endpoints. For example, if you take Teams or WebEx, these bots reside next to these clients. And instead of humans really pushing the buttons to test the several use cases, these bots exercise the human functions, right? That truly we're trying to automate that to that level. And once you have that, then you can really scale that whole automation. So when we come to the customer, so we're talking to the service providers, and automation is a very strategic initiative for everybody to move forward. from in the UC or the CC work, right? So we come to the customer, look at their where they stand. Sometimes we have to start with manual testing, right? I mean, we have to do some blocking and tackling today as the journey for the automation begins, and we walk them through it, how to get there, and hopefully completely automate as much as possible. And there's several customers that we started almost zero automation, and today, for example, there is a large operator in UK. We started at zero automation, and today we are able to automate about 70% of their devices completely. They don't have to, as soon as they come in, our automation platform completely tests and they can roll it off. Right. So that's a good example. And when I say a large operator in BT, I'm sure you can understand that.
Amazing. Well, I love the use of bots. Don't tell Elon Musk he's on a mission to get rid of bots, but as we know, bots for good in software can be a pretty powerful thing. But in addition to platforms and bots and people, you have an amazing facility, amazing infrastructure. That's probably the most extensive in the world when it comes to testing. And describe your setup, because for those tech geeks like us, they're really interested in that sort of thing in the data center.
No, that's a good point, and thanks for bringing that up. So as you know, today, when we first started, like I said, our interoperability, so we built what's called the TechVision Labs, and today we have close to 300 vendor products. So every SBC, every PBX, every device, everything that one would need as a UC premise-based deployment, right? And we have, of course, several virtual machine-based SBC instances, multi-tenant instances. So this lab, as the market is moving to the cloud, there's still a huge footprint, whether it is Cisco, Avaya, Genesys, of premise-based equipment, right? So that has to still be tested. So we help our customers where, as new releases are coming, they have to test to that premise-based environment. So we can set up for a customer, we can set up a complete end-to-end solution of how an enterprise would look like, from whether it's contact centers, whether it is PBXs, SBCs, you name it, and then we can do the entire end-to-end testing. So we actually launched last a year and a half back what's called a TechVision 360. It is this holistic service where we have the lab, that we bring the infrastructure where we can completely offload your testing needs, and we bring the expertise, because sometimes what happens is when companies are building their own product, they build the expertise on their own product, but they have to coexist with all these third-party equipment elements. And to build the skill set is hard, and not to mention to build the lab. And that's where we come in. We have the experts. So with the lab, the experts, and the automation, so completely help them scale their testing. And that's what we call it as TechVision 360. That's our offer.
That's fantastic. Question for the True North team. I mean, when should a potential customer engage with TechVision? Is this something at the beginning of the development process? Is this something a service provider should look at for deploying in the field? Is it for startups? Help me understand the go-to-market.
That's a great question. In my view, it's across all stages of the company. It's sort of like implementing your CRM system as a company. Do you do it from the start, or do you wait while it's too late and you're engrossed in all of your Excel spreadsheets and you can't get out of it? I see it the same way with TechVision's done. If you do it early on, you have that whole sort of evolution to being able to automate your entire solution, and then testing becomes very easy. The longer you wait, the more challenging it's going to be. And to answer your question on service providers, they can do some great work for the SPs across their offerings, whether it's to the SMB, whether it's to the enterprise, whether it's a UC or a CC service. So they can span across all these areas. And so I think they would become very strategic to the SPs, just like Acme and Broadsoft were to, the call it the global 100 SPs that we work with over the years.
That's fantastic. And Chakra, when it comes to what's next for you? You've been known as kind of the best kept secret in the industry, and amazing facility infrastructure people. But how do you get the word out across the broader CX landscape and and scale up?
No, that's a great question. In fact, that's what we were working on. Some of the things that we were working on at this workshop that Dino and Andy are helping us. So absolutely, we want to we want to bring more awareness of our solution. At the end of the day, we want our customers, your viewers, to know us as we would be that partner that we can help them through that journey of improving the quality, taking the services to market faster with the quality, and that will be a competitive differentiation, right? So absolutely, we're working on that awareness. We realize that we have not done much marketing in the past, but obviously Andy and Dino are helping us in that direction as well.
Fantastic. And let me ask you about some specific customers. You mentioned who's who in the industry. Microsoft is now, the $1 trillion gorilla in our space. And you offer pretty unique service around calling services with Microsoft partners. So describe that and what you're doing with Teams and other platforms in the Microsoft ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have multiple streams of offerings around the Microsoft Teams. One is first, the most obviously, there's a lot of visibility, and there's a lot of marketing and sound. You hear it on the net, which is Operator Connect. So TechVision is helping global service providers who are choosing to integrate with Microsoft for their Operator Connect. So we help them go through that whole onboarding process. And post-onboarding process, we're also helping them on that continuous validation and continuous testing and monitoring of their services. One of the things is there's so much of data that is generated from there's call quality reports and data in the Microsoft Teams environment in the cloud, and then the service providers have their own data. So using our automation, we're testing and validating that service after onboarding and bringing, whether they are direct routing or Operator Connect, it does not matter. So we provide the quality of service, so that way the customer can commit to better SLAs to their customers, and give a better visibility and quality of experience. So that's one area where we're working with Microsoft. And other areas we're working with their ACS, Azure Communication Services. We're helping several partners to be integrated. We do a lot of testing around that. And the third area is devices like Teams room systems and things like that. And there's an interesting challenge, Evan. For example, I would like to share around the devices. So unlike the past, what happens is if you take Microsoft Teams app, it's an app on the device. So the device vendor has the firmware. They control their firmware and the device, the box around it. But the Teams client, that's Microsoft software, that resides in the device, right? And the peripherals which come around that device. So if even as simple as a room system, will have a combination of 6 to 7 vendor solutions along with Microsoft Teams, constant updates around it. So the continuous testing that is required for just a Teams system, Teams room system, is also creating a lot of challenge. We're helping several device vendors in the space around that too. So certification and validation is one aspect of it, but also the continuous testing for these device vendors for Microsoft. So those are 3 examples, but we're working with ISV vendors who want to work with, like, for example, recording and compliance. So we test and certify all of the recording and compliance vendors for Microsoft. So there's multiple prongs of activity, and I'm sure I'm forgetting 1 or 2 that we also do with Microsoft. So there's a lot of activity going on around Microsoft Teams.
That's amazing. You're sort of a universal sandbox that anyone, anywhere, in any cloud can play in. That's quite an accomplishment. I'll be at Zoom's Zoomtopia event next week in San Jose in person, ironically. But I see you work with Zoom as well. I thought we had everything working with video interoperability and SIP endpoints, and everything was running smoothly. So what would someone in the Zoom ecosystem need your help with?
No, absolutely. That's great. Actually, Zoomtopia, our team will be there. So obviously, that would be great. I'll ask them to meet up with you, and anybody, they should definitely reach out to TechVision team. But specific to Zoom, again, the same thing. Zoom devices and SBCs. So we certify and validate them. So Zoom is one area. Obviously, there are others segments within Zoom that we are having conversations of expanding our work with Zoom. But devices and SBCs is one area that we're definitely working with. And as you know, the Zoom phone is a big launch that they did. And there's I talked to several service providers. They're looking at them. So that's another area that we can help the service providers from the Zoom phone systems as well, right? From the device testing and areas to all. Again, it goes back to I may sound like a repeating record, but
no, you just sound like a geek, but otherwise, no, you're totally not a broken
but
record.
Continuous testing is the key to stay ahead of the changes which Zoom, Microsoft, WebEx, any of these vendors are promoting.
That's fantastic. I'm also excited about what you're doing in CPaaS with the rise of dozens of new CPaaS providers, even more of a need for interoperability. I mean, you can't build an app if it doesn't interwork with everyone's devices and services. So the world's your oyster.
Yeah, no, we're working with AWS, and we've done some work with Twilio, and of course ACS, like I mentioned. And that is one area that's very dear. That again, going back to my tech person, I'm a technologist. The complexity of this interoperability, I think, goes even higher as we start seeing more applications proliferating on the CPaaS platforms, right? I mean, there are today the CPaaS platforms have several, but I think that explosion of applications will happen. And as that happens, the complexity of this interoperability will become even bigger problem, right? And we have to solve it through automation. I don't think it can be solved trying to solve it manually.
Absolutely. And just a final thought here with the folks from True North. You're another like best kept secret in the industry. You work with clients, obviously like TechVision, but tell us more about your business and how you can help folks like TechVision.
I was going to say, I view ourselves as a boutique consultancy firm that can do some hands-on work with you. And if you look at the team, it's got areas of expertise in every area, right? You have Mike Tesler, who's the former CEO of BroadSoft, along with Scott Halfpower, who was the CTO, Jim, who was the chief financial officer at BroadSoft. You've got Andy Miller here, who was the former CEO at Polycom in Tandberg, and then myself with my operational experience and go-to-market at places like Acme, BroadSoft, and Avaya, and being CEO of a few tech companies as well. It broadens our reach to help any company, from early stage to later on, to help them from anything from their strategy, their go-to-market, their product position and visioning, all the way to how to deal with fundraising and deal with a board and the overall management team. So I see us being able to do the whole evolution from a small startup to growth to even, later on being acquired by large companies, as you know, likes of Oracle and Cisco. So I think we bring that whole breadth. And the difference with our, I think I call it a boutique firm, is we get our hands dirty. Like we've been here for 2 days. Working with Chakra and his team, figuring out, who are the right vendors and partners to go after. Where does Andy have the right contacts, or myself, to get that done along with the rest of the team? So I'm excited about what we're doing and convinced that we can help multiple companies on their journey. Andy, I'd like to add anything here.
I think you said it all, Dina. I mean, I think we differentiate ourselves with our having been operators. So instead of doing it out of a book or we have real world experience. So we've run companies, we've seen all the issues and challenges that Chakra may not have seen yet, and we try to think ahead of time and anticipate the puck of things that he may see. And then like this event that we're here for 2 days, it's really focused on pipeline and enterprise service providers, ISVs. And I think between True North and TechVision, we probably know 80% of the prospects, and now it's all about putting the story together and making that happen. So I think each one of these times that we work with clients, not only do Dino and I get excited about providing value, but I think we're providing material aspects that will generate future revenues. So it's fun to provide our background and exciting to be here in person with the client.
Wonderful. Well, thanks everyone for sharing your insights and TechVision launching products at the speed of innovation. I love your slogan there, and congratulations, onwards and upwards. Look forward to more of these videos. Maybe next time we can actually get hands-on with some of the tools and platforms you've developed, and we'll see you at Zoomtopia. And yeah, have a great week, guys. Good to see everyone.
All right,
Thank
thanks
you very
everyone.
much.
Thanks,
Take care.
Evan.
All
Great
right.
seeing you all.
Bye.